Yeah. Collingwood. Yeah, they had a good goalie, man. They had a really good goalie throughout that series. He stood on his head. He was tough to beat. We didn't like them. They didn't like us. They, you know, had some moments within the series that made it tough on us.
Tomlinson going for a skate the other way. Walking into the offensive zone, finds himself down low, swings it all the way around to Ian Martin. Perry, Martin, walks below the goal line, drops for Perry. He tries to cycle to Rodas, goes back to Ian Martin. Walks, takes the shot, scores! Ian Martin, the overtime winner, and the Pickering Panthers strike first. Minutes into the overtime, and a massive goal from Ian Martin, who led the team in goal scoring this year. He may have scored. So that moment right there, where Ian Martin scored the overtime winner in Game 1 against the Collingwood Blues, is easily one of the memories that sticks with me the most out of any moment I've ever had with this Pickering Panther team. It just felt like such a defining moment. And yes, that comeback against the Stouffville Spirit, where the Panthers came all the way down from 5-1 in the third period to win in an overtime, was a big part of this playoff run. And I think if you ask a lot of the players, that was the turning point where they started to believe in themselves. But they faced some adversity in this Game 1 against the Collingwood Blues. Remember, this was a 3-game series. You have to win Game 1. You almost have to win Game 1. If you ask a lot of the Pickering Panther players, they thought they were better than the Collingwood Blues. Just plain and simple, they thought they were better. And they were. But if you lose Game 1, anything could happen. So how about Game 1 going to overtime? But let's take you back to how we got there. This game started really badly for the Pickering Panthers.
5:20 in, a nightmare start for the Panthers. Zach Roy hits Will Reddick with a clearing attempt, and it's in the net. That has yikes written all over it.
Zach Roy giving up, by no question, the worst goal that he's given up this entire season, and it came at a crucial point in the playoffs, and it was the only...
Zach Roy ends up firing a puck off of one of the Collingwood Blue players, Will Reddick, who was just skating in front of the net. There was no one standing in front. Zach Roy was behind his own cage. He was just trying to fire a puck up the ice, and he ends up accidentally hitting a Collingwood Blue player, and it trickles into the net. 1-0 Blues. That's how the Panthers started things out. Collingwood didn't score the rest of the game. The Panthers scored once to send it to overtime. Lucas Littlejohn picked up a goal. That sent the game to overtime, and it set up the heroics for Ian Martin, who gets the winner. 1-0 series lead for Pickering. So I think it's time that we introduce you to a voice that we heard very briefly in episode 1. That's Ryan Johnstone. And he has a fascinating journey to how he got to the Pickering Panthers this season. He played one game as an AP for Pickering in the regular season, in the 21-22 season. He spent the majority of his time playing for the Ajax Pickering Raiders U18 team, that's AAA hockey, in Pickering. They even play in the same arena as the Pickering Panthers, practiced with the Panthers as well, but didn't play in the regular season for Pickering. Now, I'm not going to say that Ryan Johnstone was a dark horse player to join this Pickering Panther team, because he was really good, maybe the best player on his U18 AAA team. He had 22 goals in 27 games, 38 points, playing for the Ajax Pickering Raiders, who are a really good team. In fact, the only reason Ryan Johnstone ended up on the Pickering Panthers was because his really good U18 Ajax Pickering Raider team got eliminated a little bit earlier than they thought they would have. So that meant that Ryan Johnstone could play in the OJHL as a member of the Panthers because he had nowhere else to go. So here's Ryan Johnstone with the story of how he ended up being a Pickering Panther in the playoffs. You were an Ajax Pickering Raider this season. Like you were not a Pickering Panther, and you end up joining the team. Like, you know, how crazy was this just for you? You know, playing U18 AAA hockey, and then all of a sudden you're a junior A player.
Yeah, it was crazy. That's probably the best way to put it. Because we had a fantastic U18 team. We were kind of expected to be the top dogs, and we ended up losing. So when your season kind of gets shattered like that, you don't really know what to do. And then 2 days later, Scotty Nicholson gives you a call and says, "Hey, why don't you come play for the Panthers for the rest of the season? We're going on a playoff run." So can't say no to that. And I jumped right in head first and kind of took it from there.
Was that hard for you? I mean, like you're joining a team that's already completely meshed together. You'd played one game for the Pickering Panthers in the regular season before joining them in the playoffs. Like, what was that like for you coming into that locker room and just kind of trying to establish yourself?
Yeah, it was definitely tough. It's kind of odd for guys to have a bond with their teammates all year and see a fresh new face right at playoffs. It was definitely tough. It was also a hard adjustment in the hockey sense too, from making that jump to minor hockey to junior A. But you just kind of you just got to take everything with an open mindset because you're new and all you're there to learn. You got to learn everything. You got to let the guys show you the ropes, and you just got to take all the advice given and just just work hard.
I was surprised with Johnny, man. Like I didn't think, obviously I'm not, no spoilers yet, but the guy came into like a couple practices and stuff, and he's Rob's type of player too. Like he would go out there, muck around. He had skill too. Like obviously he's doing whatever now with his hockey career. I think he's playing college, university somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but yeah, he came to the team. He put his head down, worked. I think he started on the fourth line. And throughout the playoff run and stuff, we're like, you know what, this kid's pretty valuable, and he has a gas tank on him. Like, I love playing with guys like that. Support the puck, and he was always helping me out in the battle, like in tight battles in the corner. It was a pleasure to play with, and yeah, he definitely was a big help towards that championship run, especially being an AP. Like,
Yeah.
impressive.
When I was talking to Alto the other day, he kind of described him as Rob Pearson's kind of player. He was a tough guy. He could skate well. He could dig the puck out of the corners. Just what do you remember about Ryan Johnstone as a player?
I just remember being like shocked because obviously when you think about an AP coming up, you're like, oh, like this guy's going to kind of be a plug and play guy. Like he'll play whatever is like 5 to 7 minutes a night, and he'll be a good depth guy. But like you don't really expect much of them. Really, I was just, I just was kind of in awe and how good he was. Like I didn't know anything about him coming in, but the guy's huge. Like he's a massive body, right? And he's an engine. The guy, you know. Flies around everywhere with his massive frame, just kind of, running people over. And he's kind of like the quintessential power forward at that point, right? Which is kind of everything that you want, in a series like that, where it's going to be, you're going to be grinding everybody else down to the bone, like as the kind of player, especially it hasn't had the kind of, like long season that necessarily that we had, it's fresh legs. I don't know, like his impact on the team, I guess it can't really be understated. Like it was huge.
4 minutes gone in the first period, and here comes Ryan Johnstone. Shot scores! Ryan Johnstone, his first OJHL goal, and the Panthers lead 1-0. Stay hot, Ian Martin, 2-0 Pickering Panthers. They can taste it now.
Perry and Rodas were battling hard in the corner. Luckily, Perry got it out to me out in front, and I just shot it, hope for the best, and I beat him. So not much more you could ask for.
Yeah, you sure did. That was the voice of Ian Martin. I was standing on the ice at the Eddie Bush Memorial Arena in Collingwood after the Pickering Panthers came away with a 3-0 victory. The other goal after Ian Martin was Eli Pilasov, who put the icing on the cake late in the third period. Martin had just finished taking the photo with the North Division Champs banner there on the ice in Collingwood, and he skated over to the bench to do that interview with me before heading into the locker room. And he had a big smile on his face after scoring that 2-0 goal for the Pickering Panthers, because at that point they knew they were rolling. Their defense was really solid. In fact, Brendan Tomlinson was the heart and soul of this Pickering Panther team, wore that C on his chest very proudly, and garnered a lot of respect from his teammates on the ice. This is what he had to say after the win.
Yeah, from regular season to playoffs, like we've really dialed it in defensively, I think, shutting down the house and stuff, especially against Collingwood. They're a pretty good team, structured team, and they like to get those house shots. And I think that we really just dialed in these last couple of games and took away those chances. And I think if we keep playing as a team like we have been, I think we're pretty unstoppable, honestly. It's pretty good. A lot of teams didn't really respect us through the season and stuff, so to get this done and keep rolling in the next series, it's a big accomplishment. But at the end of the day, it's not the banner we're looking for, so we're going to keep pushing and trying to take it into Milton. Teams weren't really giving us respect. They thought our division was weak. If Collingwood, Aurora, they were pretty good teams at the end of the day, and we took care of them now. So I think we go in and prove that we're a legit team and take it into Milton like that.
So you heard Brendan Tomlinson there talking about how he felt like the rest of the league was not giving the Pickering Panthers the respect that they deserve. And this had some validity to it. Not a lot of people were picking the Panthers to win the championship, even though they were very nearly the best team in the regular season points-wise, only to the Toronto Junior Canadiens. But people didn't think much of the North Division, which is where the Pickering Panthers were, and they thought that they got there because they were in a weak division. So what did the Panthers do come playoff time? They called their playoff run the #No Respect Tour. So I'm wondering, for a guy like you who hadn't played at all with this team or even in Junior A, and when I heard the No Respect Tour, I was thinking, man, we just put a target on our back right away. Were you kind of thinking, like, did that kind of add any pressure at all for you?
I wouldn't say to me it added pressure. Only because I jumped in right at playoffs. So there wasn't that much of a bond right away between me and the guys and kind of the slogan that they had. But I definitely thought it was a confident thing, a confident slogan to have. And yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Kind of have that confidence, that swagger, basically, no respect tour. We're the big dogs here. So
yeah. That was Ryan Johnstone talking about what it was like for him coming into a team that had so much confidence, as he put it. And confidence is something that gets thrown around pretty lightly in hockey. I mean, every player is going to say that they're going to win or that they think this team can do it. But when Brendan Tomlinson said it, you could tell that he knew something that maybe the rest of the league hadn't realized. Because when the Pickering Panthers came into the next series against the Milton Menace, boy, were they ever ready.
Off to Partridge, one-time shot, Tomlinson scores! It went off a body in front of the nets. And it is going to be Captain Brendan Tomlinson who ties the game at 1.
Yeah, at that point, I think the Milton series, who was I talking? I was talking with some, I can't remember. I think it was one of my, I was looking at the schedule and I was looking at us. Even towards the end of the season, I was looking, I'm like, you know what? Looking at a roster too, I'm like, we got a real shot here. And Milton, in my opinion, I think we had Milton's number all year.
Tomlinson, now Ian Martin, puts it in front one time, scores! The Pickering Panthers take the lead. It's Dustin Hutton who gets the goal. It's 2-1.
And I don't know if it was going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, but I think like whenever we just played them, especially because they had a few overagers on their team too, and I know that some of the guys knew, like from our team knew their guys, you know what I mean? It was kind of like buddy, but like we kind of wanted to beat them to show that we were the best team coming out of our conference and stuff like that. So
holding on to it as Hutton goes back to Tomlinson. Hutton cross crease pass, one-timer, scores! Miles Perry, and the Pickering Panthers lead 3-1.
Every time we played them, we played with a little bit of extra edge, and I mean it showed in the series because I don't think they really stood much of a chance throughout that series.
Altamar, a long pass right on the tape of Rodas on the breakaway. Christos Rodas scores! Christos Rodis on his breakaway, the second of the playoffs for Christos Rodis, and the Panthers lead 4-2. That was a brilliant pass from Matthew Altamar.
But like, I think that it just kind of, like, it's just kind of a momentum builder. Like we play a team like Stouffville, and then obviously a team we should beat, and then we're losing, and we come back and win. Okay, that's another step in the right direction. And then we go into Collingwood, we play a team who's a good team, who we should beat. You know, maybe give us a little bit more than we were expecting. You know, another step in the right direction, right? Like, it's all. I think that it was kind of like putting us on a path that we needed to go on, and with the momentum that we gained throughout those series, ultimately propelling us to the end.
Yeah. And then you had to get through the Milton Menace. I mean, they were a good team as well, but at this point, I mean, you guys were rolling, and you guys really rolled through that Milton series.
I remember game 3, I think, and game 2, especially in Milton, because I remember that the building's always like, that building's insane, right? So I remember going in there and beating them was fun, because there was something, I forgot what we were doing on the ice, but we were probably we were a cocky group of 20-year-old kids, celebrating on the ice, probably being a bunch of asses, but I forget what it was. But like, I don't know, that series was fun too. Like, I think a bunch of guys on our team had played with a bunch of guys on their team in the O2. Like, there was a bunch of Kingston guys. So, like, I think that, I don't know, at that point, after having swept back-to-back series, we kind of had the faith in ourselves that we were going to, take care of business, and that's what happened, right?
You mentioned the 20-year-olds on the team. You were 19 at the time, but you had a lot of 20-year-olds on that team. Literally the most you could possibly have, and then plus one later on, but we'll get into that later. For you, I don't know how old players were, or, if players were all the same age when you were coming through, but, you were playing with a bunch of people, older than you, which there weren't very many guys in the league like that. Did that kind of add to the experience for you, just having so many, guys that were your age, and, so many really experienced players on that team who had, OHL experience, like you said, and, so many cool junior hockey experiences that they had?
Yeah, having a group like that's really similar in age is always fun. Like, whether, like, it could be a team that's a really old team like we were, that's got a bunch of guys in the same age, or if you're a really young team that's all the same age, and you can kind of like get a good group of boys that are together, that all get along together well. But for me, like, I don't know, we all billeted too. There's so many of us that were billeting, so like having that, group of people who were all old enough to, we go out, or we could all hang out and, play cards at night, and it just adds experience, because it makes you feel a little bit more like a team, right? Just having, it's a bunch of similar, like-minded people, together all the time, living really close to each other, who all have the same interests. So, like, from a team perspective, that's like the best thing ever.
And that was a key for the Pickering Panthers. Everyone on the Panthers really liked each other, and they had bonded together really well as a team. And to be honest, it didn't hurt that they just kept winning. They kept on winning. They hadn't lost a game all playoffs long. And that would continue through game 2 of this series. Miles Perry in the second period made it 1-0 Panthers over Milton. And then Ryan Johnstone scored his second of the playoffs. That was all the Pickering Panthers needed. Lucas Buziol would score later on for the Milton Menace, but then Ian Martin got the insurance goal late in the third period. 2-0 series lead in a best-of-5 series. And the Panthers would have a chance to bring it home, at home, and go to the Buckland Cup. Unbelievable. But it wasn't going to be that easy. Right off the bat, the Panthers faced some adversity. Aiden Hughes made it 1-0 on the power play. And that was all the scoring for the first period in Game 3. And then 34 seconds into the second period, Panthers were down 2-0. Ryan Holmes scored a goal, and the Pickering Panthers found themselves in a hole at home. But they did not want this series to go to Game 4.
Holden Rogers takes his man out, but the Panthers maintain possession of the puck. A shot right on, scores! Alexander Pappas-Paropoulos through the middle of the ice, taken down is Johnstone. This one's turned over. Rowe sends it in front, scores! Oh, he put it off Petreccia, and the Pickering Panthers have tied the game.
And that goal by Lucas Rowe was really lucky. Alexander Petreccia was the defenseman on the Milton Menace. Lucas Rowe kind of went behind the net, and he was just kind of a blind behind the back pass that he was trying to flip into a dangerous area. There wasn't really any Pickering Panthers in front. It probably wouldn't have worked it out if it hadn't been for Alexander Petreccia kicking that puck into his own net. Pretty fortunate if you're the Pickering Panthers to be tied 2-2 after 2 periods of play. Now, I think it's time we introduce you to another very important character on this Pickering Panther team. Maybe the heart and soul of this Panther team. That was Ethan Lindsay. Now, Ethan Lindsay had been with this team all the way back in the 2018-19 season is when he started. He played 2 games for the Pickering Panthers, and he loved playing in Pickering. Ethan Lindsay was a Pickering Panther lifer at the time, and he had just been given the assistant captain patch on his chest. But you can't really talk about Ethan Lindsay on this team without mentioning his best buddy, Lucas Lapalme.
You know, honestly, good old Palmer. We're basically the same person. It's pretty funny, actually. I just kind of know where he's going to be on the ice, and I think he has the same thing for me. Like, yeah, it's pretty sweet playing with him. I love every time one of us is on the ice, the other guy's on the ice, and you know we're kind of starting to like really get really tight, and I can't even explain it. I just love playing with that guy.
The two were an inseparable duo. They played with each other every shift, and maybe where they brought the most value to the team was on the PK. They could hustle harder than any player in the Ontario Junior Hockey League at the time, and when Lindsay and Lapalme came out as the 2 forwards on the PK unit, no team was going to score on the Pickering Panthers. They were all over them. Forecheck, back check. There was no time and space on the ice when those two were out there. Now, they were both fantastic players, but neither Ethan Lindsay nor Lucas Lapalme scored a lot of goals. So when Ethan Lindsay came into the playoffs, he was there to stop the other team from scoring, kill penalties, and get the pucks in deep. But in this game, he did more than just that.
Now Lindsay goes into the corner, trying to play it out in front. Elects not to, cycles it to Lucas Lapalme, who's there comfortably. And it goes in! Ethan Lindsay from a sharp angle, and the Pickering Panthers take the lead. Ethan Lindsay out of nowhere. He has his second of the playoffs. And a shocking turn of events here in Pickering as their last 2 goals have one been from a sharp angle and one of them from behind the net of Ryan Dugas. Lucas Buziol, 2 guys who had remarkable offensive years. Ethan Lindsay walks to the middle of the ice, scores. Ethan Lindsay with the exclamation point scores his second of the game, and the Panthers lead 7-2.
And Ethan Lindsay didn't even fly by the bench on that goal. It was late. It was 7-2, and the Pickering Panthers knew they were headed to the Buckland Cup. After the game, I spoke with an excited Ethan Lindsay, and Lucas Lapalme was right there midway through the interview to dump the water bottle on his head.
All right, here with Ethan Lindsay. You guys are Northwest Conference Championships. You guys are going to the Buckland Cup. Tell me how it feels.
There's no words, really. You know, this is what we worked for since the beginning, and you know, it's crazy feeling. I've never been part of a team like this before, so it's pretty special. You know, we got a really tight group of guys in the locker room, and I don't know, honestly, we deserve this, and we work really hard, so we're pumping with the buck. I didn't even see that.
A shower that probably feels pretty good. You're a guy, you got the assistant captain this year. I know that you've been through a ton with this organization, the Pickering Panthers. Tell me how it feels for you being in a leadership role and what this whole team has been able to do.
Well, like I said before, you know, I had lots of guys before me. Some of them were standing right there, actually, you know, teaching me the ropes. And just try to apply that here. Treat everybody the same and be a good leader. And I've been through a lot with this team, and to be able to go to the Buck is something special. I'm super stoked and hoping we get the job done.
All right, finally, I know it's a little bit too early to start looking ahead right now, but going to the Buckland Cup, we've heard a lot of you guys just saying if you keep playing the way you've been playing, you guys are going to be fine. Is that kind of the mentality right now?
I think for sure, yeah. We're a really hard, gritty team. We got a lot of skill, and we can play physicals too. We're not really scared of whoever's in front of us. We're going to play as hard as we can, and if we keep on doing what we're doing, we have no problems going forward.
Unfortunately for the Panthers, they did not keep on doing what they were doing come the OJHL finals. So if you remember way back in the beginning of the first episode, we talked about the Panthers battling for home ice advantage. And it didn't matter that they weren't the top team points-wise in the OJHL until now, the finals. Because guess what? The Toronto Junior Canadiens, who happened to be the 1 seed, surprise, surprise, they made it. So it was the Pickering Panthers against the Toronto Junior Canadiens in the finals, and JRC had home ice advantage. And things did not go the same way they'd been going all playoffs long for the Pickering Panthers. After the first period of play, it was 4-0 JRC.
It is a little discouraging. I'm not saying anyone said we were out or whatever, but guys were kind of we were a little stunned, right? Especially game 1. We didn't, they were very well coached. I'll give them credit. They played a very tight game style. Didn't allow our guys, our skill guys, especially our power play units, to get anything going in the first 2 games. We knew we were struggling, and Rob called actually an emergency meeting.
Well, thanks so much for watching this episode of Beyond the Buck. We've got lots more coming, and to be honest, this is where the real story starts. The series against the Toronto Junior Canadiens. This had its ups and downs, the emotion, the big goals. It had it all. So stay tuned for more here on Beyond the Buck.